Good evening. It is Monday, April 2017, 2019. This meeting is held at Winthrop High School in room 142 and is recorded live on WCAT. Mr. Parent, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Haynes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Fabiano?
Here.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Powell? Present. Ms. Wolf? Mr. Vecchio? Mr. Perrin?
Here.
Mr. Capabianco?
Here. Any public comment this evening? Hearing none, we do have some delegates and visitors. I'm excited to hear a presentation from the Viking Longships blacksmithing course, being led by Ty Kalinda, Ivy Crespo, and Julia Marcocchio. You guys ready? All right,
They're
come on up.
All right, come on up. So I'm helping them a little bit.
Perfect.
Not a lot. So thank you for having the Viking Longship students come up and talk to you about a proposal that they have. They came to me, I don't know, about a month and a half ago with an interesting proposal and project. I put them through a little bit of busyness, asking them a lot of questions, sort of trying to get to the bottom of what they were looking to do. One of the most articulate groups of students that I've dealt with since returning to the public schools. They have a vision, they have a dream, and they want to do something very different than we've done here in the past under the direction of Mr. Skane. So I want them to present it to you because this is their project, this is their curriculum, their thoughts, their ideas, and it's far beyond anything I think I ever could have come up with. So I'm going to ask them to come up and sort of walk you through what they're asking of us to allow them to be able to do. So who's going to start?
So, before I pass it off to the blacksmiths, I'm Elizabeth Nolan. I'm a four-year Viking Longship student. I'm a senior. I'm just going to give a brief overview of what the class is. So the Viking Longship project is an honors humanity course open to all grades in the school. We have a pretty equal distribution between seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. It's a progressive course, which means that every year you can continue on to the next year with what you're doing. So they're all freshmen this year, so next year if they want to continue with blacksmithing, they can do that. The course focuses on independence and goal setting. So it teaches our students how to work independently so that they can be successful after high school. The course is all inclusive. We have students from the life skills classes, CP classes, and honor roll. We've accomplished many things. One of the accomplishments we've done recently, we have the Gokstad ship hanging in the cafeteria. Currently we're working on, so this is a picture of the ship. We're currently working on getting the ticket booth and the longhouse built. The ticket booth is an 8x10 historically accurate model, and the house is a 14-foot by 24-foot historically accurate model of Viking longhouse. Our plan for the longhouse is to make it an educational center open to the town of Winthrop. We want to use the information that the students in the class have gotten so far to teach the younger kids in the town. We do the 5th grade and 2nd grade visits, so we hope to move those over to the longhouse once it's put up in Belle Marsh. Next year, our plan is to work on the 21-foot fairing, which is also an accurate Viking longship. Okay, so now we're going to pass it off to Julia, Ivy, and Ty.
So those are some of the things that are up and running and in place. I'm sure everybody has seen the Viking Longship that we have in the front foyer of the building. This is in progress at Belle Marsh. And now this group of freshmen has come up with something else that they want to add to the Viking Longship course. So this is in addition to all the things that are going on, an idea that they had to add another level of something to do in this program. So I'm going to let you guys take it away.
So I'm Julia Marcocchio. I'm a freshman.
I'm Ivana Crespo. I'm also a freshman.
I'm Ty Kalinda. I'm also a freshman.
And we'd just like to show you what we have researched and accomplished in our blacksmithing. So to start off, the importance of blacksmithing in the Viking culture. blacksmithing was a very large part in Viking society, and they wouldn't have been able to carry out as a functioning society without this skill. They also had a bullion currency system, which was trading any form of metal for goods, and they had to use blacksmithing for the system.
So we'd like to have our little forge kind of set up outside on the Viking Longships patio area outside of the classroom. It is a 16 by 18 space. Its corner is patio. It's about 288 square feet. We would like to have a portable gas forge, which we would bring inside after, and then we would keep our propane things to fuel this forge outside in custodian's work shed. But we'd also have an anvil out there and an oak stem. This is the space that we are talking about. You can kind of see it with the concrete outlines. It's actually pretty big out.
So Ivy, if you're outside looking at the middle school
Yeah.
front door, right?
It's
This
kind
is
of
me, I'm
on-
outside, I'm looking at the middle school front door, where is that?
This is the corner between
So if you
the
can
high
picture
school
that.
side and the middle
Yep.
school side.
So that's already there.
Yes. We'd be using about this space and this space, and it would all be, and around it would be temporary fencing to keep anyone who has not been properly introduced into blacksmithing and not in the blacksmithing field away from our area.
So it would be used, that fencing would be used sort of as protection for those folks who have not been properly introduced into the area yet, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So, the forge itself, it's a portable forge. You can take it inside and bring it outside. We use propane as a fuel. It can be easily just turned right off in case of emergency. It's better for the environment than a charcoal forge because it produces less carbon dioxide gas. It doesn't produce any smoke, so you won't smell the smoke. It's small and easily contained, goes like a big fire. It can reach 3,200 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 19 inches long, 8 inches tall.
And what do we wanna do with that? We wanna buy that, right?
Yes.
And bring it here, so that's part of what blacksmithing, something they would need for this project would be to purchase this item and bring it here. Talk about keeping it outside when we're using it in that area that Ivy talked about as being blocked off by fencing, and that we could bring it inside, as Ivy said, right? So that it didn't get ruined, so we're taking care of our stuff in the months or the days that we're not using it.
So the process of blacksmithing, we would light the forge, put in our piece of metal, wait till it gets orange hot, and pull it out with tongs. We'd hammer the piece of metal whatever way it needs to be worked, and then we would keep repeating that process until we have the desired shape, and then we cool it down with water.
Safety is our top priority here, as it is all yours for every student in Winthrop Public Schools. Like Ty said, we are getting a propane forge. It is the safest type, and it's not this big fire. We'd also make sure that every student who wants to join this blacksmithing field goes through a process of rigorous training, and we'd actually have someone to help us learn about how to blacksmith. We have safety equipment such as leather gloves and aprons, goggles or welding masks, and a water tub, which is actually used for cooling, for hardening metal, but would also help cool it as well. Of course, there would be fire extinguishers, and it is fenced in, and nobody would be allowed without to even join the field without proper qualifications, including a permission slip from their parents, because we don't want to go against their parents.
Wouldn't wanna do that.
So for recruiting, kind of like what Ivy was saying, there's going to be people that would want to join this field through every year, and there's newcomers every single year. And so in order to get into this field, there would be almost like a mini Hell Month, which people who want to get in, students, would have to go through about a week of testing and to show that they are really dedicated and that they're not going to fool around. Off that, they would have safety tests so that they know all the safety precautions. And since it's a small area outside in the patio, there's not going to be everyone allowed inside. There'd probably be a max at about 3 to 5 people inside the fenced-in area at once. And while the kids are just learning about blacksmithing, they can observe from outside the fence, and they could go inside and use and practice with cold metal, and we'd use soft temp aluminum, which is the picture showing. So for contacts, we obviously want to have people to teach us safety tips and tricks, and some blacksmiths who can do that. Saugus Ironwork is our top choice because they have metalworks there, and with the Viking style as well. We also are part of the New England Blacksmiths, and there's some Winthrop residents, Jeff Schiff and Steve Nichols, that we're trying to get a hold of. And also Prospect Hill Forge has classes and lessons that we can take there about blacksmithing.
So one of our goals is to make coins using the wax cast method. It's you make a piece of wax into a shape and you put it in a mold, and you pour the metal in and it melts it and takes shape. And we want to try to get that done.
We'd also like to make some Viking items, and some of them are utensils, jewelry, and objects needed for a house, because there's a ticket booth that our class is making right outside of Miller Field, and it would be really cool if we could have a part of us in that house, like making a handle or a candle holder.
And most importantly, we'd like this field to carry on after we leave high school, so other people can enjoy it. It's an amazing thing, as we've discovered through these past couple of months, and it's something that we'd like to share with future generations of other high school students.
Also keep in mind that this is a student-driven field and that we're just freshmen, so any mistakes that we make, they can be experiences and we can always learn from them.
We all make mistakes.
Yes. Thank you.
So I think just something really important that you guys left out was talking to some of the networking that you've done. So they've done some networking on their own, so they came to me to talk to me about it. I know absolutely nothing about blacksmithing at all whatsoever. So I asked them to talk to some of the people in town who might be the people who'd say, you know, I don't know if you guys should really be doing that. You're gonna be using propane tanks, and that rang a bell of fire chief and the building inspector. So maybe just mention, a little bit about what you did, or either anyone of you guys, a little bit about what you did with the building inspector and fire chief.
So probably February, right? February, we went to Fire Captain Scott Wiley and Building Inspector Mr. Legate, and we set up a meeting with them. We were originally expecting that we would meet with them one at a time, but we ended up meeting with them all at once, and we presented our presentation to them and explained our thoughts and what we wanted to do, and got some of their advice if this would be possible, if this could be legal in Winthrop. And it was actually, and they did approve of it. And I think they were very surprised, as many people are when they first think blacksmithing. But we're trying to keep this as safe as possible, and it's really quite grown a passion for all of us here.
So, and of course, they knew, I like people who think outside the box. So I think presenting something totally different than is done in any other school. And we've talked a lot, this is probably their 5th or 6th presentation in general, if you count the pre-gaming stuff that we did. Public speaking is a big piece of this campaign as well. They're writing curriculum for their own program. They're putting forth a project that they want to do. They're having to stand up in front of a bunch of scary adults. The first time I met with them, they scared me. They were so nervous that I became nervous, and I said, okay guys, like this, just talk to me, tell me what it is that you want to do. I think they're working at collaboratively working together and learning how to work as a team, working with me a little bit on how to network and how to get people to buy into what it is that you want to do is sort of a little trick. get people to really understand what it is that you wanna do, but also how do you sell your passion about what it is that you wanna do and why are you doing this? It's definitely something you need. We talked about, a little bit about resumes and what your resume looks like when you go off to college. My guess is there's not gonna be 75 resumes that say I created and participated in the blacksmithing program at Winthrop High School, and now I'm a senior and it's super successful, and we've been in Boston Magazine, is that where I'm gonna get you next? We've been in Boston Magazine, or we've been in, various papers, and people are very proud about what we're doing. So I felt like it was an opportunity to show off some of the things. We're getting better at talking about ourselves and how good we are in Winthrop Public Schools and how many cool kids we have. And this, to me, was super exciting. I'm very proud of them to be able to stand up in front of adults. It's something that takes a ton of practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Teaching them some tricks that they are not going to share with you about how to speak in front of an audience. Those are inside tricks that we work on here. It's not part of the curriculum, but part of mine. Does anyone have any questions for this crew?
I do. Thank you. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
It sounds like a really interesting idea. How many students do you anticipate being able to participate in this program?
There can be, I think, a couple every year that would like to join, and they'd have to get through the requirements, and there can be like section days that people can like be inside of the forge, and so not every day someone might be in the forge if there's a lot of people, so that everyone gets like an equal amount of time.
So probably maybe 6. Most likely, because there's only one class today. It's 35 kids so far, and that's quite a large class for Viking long ships. And a lot of people go off and do their own thing in different fields. So probably 6 max.
So this would be a specialized program within Viking Longship, right?
Yes.
So there'll still be carpentry in the long ship?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
this will be addition.
But now we can make nails.
Yeah.
Other questions that people might have for them?
I have to ask, where did you ever get this idea? I mean, how did you come up with this?
So we're sitting there in our hell month. It's 6 weeks of where we had to do like 3 assignments a night. I wouldn't start until probably 11 o'clock at night. I'd go to bed at 2 because I'd also be watching Netflix the entire time. And so we're sitting there in the auditorium doing our work during class, and Ty's like, "Oh, and there's this sheet that we get, and it says all the different things that have come up all over the years, and you can make your own." But Ty sees blacksmithing, and he's like, "Oh, blacksmithing! I'll check out that." And then except there wasn't really a blacksmithing field that had existed. It was more of an idea that had popped up 14 years ago. And so I go, "Oh, Ty, I'll do that too." And so we meet with Mr. Stain, and he's like, "Hey guys, so that doesn't really exist yet." And Julia later on in Helmond shows up, and she's like, "Let's do this too." And then she originally wanted to do sports, and then she kind of switched full time to blacksmithing.
Fantastic. That's great.
So because it didn't exist, you're creating it.
Yes.
I mean, that's the big
Yeah.
piece of this, that they are creating something that didn't exist under the guidance of course, Mr. Skeen. So that's what makes it so unique, is that they are creating it, so it's a program that will build itself, starting small. We've talked about, starting small to be successful and build it up, and getting the kids other students to stand outside the fence and watch what you're doing if you're one of the first groups that have been trained. Kind of gets people's interest going a little bit, and then slowly letting them drip into the program as you go along.
So if you'll just let me have a horse here,
Right,
you know,
right.
and I will participate.
Yes.
I saw a gentleman named Steve Nichols. Have you guys been able to contact him?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Networking,
Yeah, I can, I know Steve very well.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you know what he does for a living? You guys know?
It's Constitution.
So if you like, if you want, I can do that for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
So this is what presentations do for you, when you're tough enough to stand up in front of a crowd and get
That's
something
great.
out of it. That's a way, that's called networking.
Yeah, I can help you with that, Jeff.
Check that off, those
What's
Yeah.
the cost to the school system?
So in your packet, that blue packet that we gave you, so we've got to talk about this. So the cost to the school system right now is zero. And it's zero because of their planning activities of fundraising to buy the materials. They've costed the materials out themselves, and I have not written one piece, nor has Mr. Skeen, of anything that's in that folder. This is all produced by the students. So some of the background work they did in preparation after, I think, our first meeting, is went back and got themselves sort of a price list. What's this gonna cost? Sometimes that's my first question, but usually not. And then how are you gonna come up with the money for it, or what do you need? And kind of pushing them to have some ideas. So they have some fundraising ideas, they have some money in their Viking Longship account already. And I believe that there are plans to continue to fundraise beyond that. But that packet that you have in front of you is sort of the beginning blueprints for the program and to fundraise, and it will be left behind for this next incoming freshman will be able to read that to see what they have done, and they'll build on that. They have their own blacksmithing binder that has every step of the way, pretty much what you have in those folders. This is just prettier and easier to read. So you can see the prices that are in there.
Just want to say quickly, I had the pleasure of taking long trips for 4 years with Mr. Malios. It was a great experience, and what you guys are doing are unbelievable. When I visited your class, it was organized chaos, and I say that in a great way, because one group is working on one project, another group's working on culture, another group's working on sports. You guys are giving me a presentation, and everyone is working independently. And that's what you have to do, through college. And you guys have learned that at a great level. And on another note, to come here and speak in front of adults and on TV and in front of your parents and in front of elected officials and be this prepared and dressed professionally is very impressive, and you guys should be proud. One suggestion, people you should reach out to maybe the local ironworkers in South Boston, labor organization. I could see them maybe want to volunteer. They do a lot of charity work, and being a school district, I could see that being something they might want to be active in. You guys have any questions or anything for us, or anything else you want to say?
I have a question. We have to let them out early because we have basketball, we have homework, we have some research to do. So I would like to have them maybe take a minute recess so that they could be excused.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Serino, our athletic director, with athletics update.
You want me to stand here and take it?
Yeah, you want to? It's up to you. Want to just pull a chair next to Ms. Howard?
I'll just stand here.
Perfect.
Just want to thank Superintendent Howard for having me, school committee members as well. My goal tonight is just to give you a quick overview and update on athletics throughout this year. We're very fortunate that we are offering the facilities that we have with this brand new school, the brand new field. And in turn, I think that we've seen our participation numbers in athletics increase. Right now, within the 3 seasons, we actually are averaging over 200 athletes, which for a small school such as ours, I think is tremendous. I'll kind of give you a little overview, breakdown season by season. For the fall, we had 4 teams qualify for the state tournament. We had girls soccer, golf, cross country, and cheerleading. From all the fall sports, we had over 10 student athletes who were named to either the Northeast Conference All-Conference team or All-Stars. Our cheerleading team had a very successful year this year. They took first place and they were grand champs in the NEC conference, which was the first time they've done that in quite a few years, which was awesome. They placed second at states, 4th at regionals, and actually qualified for nationals, which they did not attend. So they had a very successful year. Our football team actually had over 50 kids participate this year, which was our highest number in many years, and actually is probably middle, if not higher end for the Northeast Conference in total. Being a small school, I think that's a tremendous accolade by our first year head coach, John Cadigan. Our cross country team, the girls team, placed 10th at states this year, which was their best finish in over 15 years. For winter sports, both our girls and boys hockey teams qualified for the state tournament, each winning a game before losing. Our boys hockey team had a very successful year. They won the Northeast Conference title. Sam Yarrow, our senior captain, was named in Herald All-Scholastic, was named the MVP of the Northeast Conference, as well as Coach Dunbar was named Coach of the Year for Northeast Conference. So, as I said, the boys hockey team had a great year. Our swimmers, we had 5 swimmers who co-opted with Lynn English this year. We do a co-op with them every year. Our swimmers had a great season. The 2 female athletes on the team, Mary Lawler and Carol and Sufanti were actually the leading point scorers for the Lynn English swim team. So it's great to see that we have a bunch of student athletes, and even if we don't offer a facility here, we're able to join other towns and offer those programs. And then just tying into the spring, again, we have the spring is actually our highest enrollment. We have probably around 250 spring athletes all participating. Boys lacrosse team, girls lacrosse team, and boys tennis teams, we're about midway point in the season, are actually in contention for the Northeast Conference titles, which is awesome to have 3 teams at this point. Our softball team is the first team as of right now to qualify for the tournament, but I do envision most, if not all, of our spring sports qualifying. And then just to touch a little bit on Millerfield. Millerfield has been working out tremendously for us. I thank Vasily Malios and Anthony Hatzazavas, who have been doing a lot of work over there to keep up with the field, make sure our teams and our coaches and our athletes are doing the right things. We've been hosting MIA state tournament games. This year we hosted a soccer game over there, which was awesome. We're hoping to host lacrosse games as well this year. We've hosted for the 3rd year in a row in our beautiful gym boys and girls MIA basketball games. And the feedback we're getting from all of our facilities from the MIA down is tremendous. They love coming here, and they want to continue to come here for years after. And then second, the field house is coming along great. The Voc kids are doing a tremendous job, and we hope to have that up and running by the end of this year, along with George Gain and his class. They're doing a great job with the ticket booth. And then the last thing is we're going to be hopefully adding the 3 middle school sports next year, which Mr. Curley has done a lot of legwork with that. He's reached out to the parents, brought out surveys, and the feedback we've gotten for adding youth sports or middle school sports has been overwhelming. We've gotten a tremendous amount of feedback, and I think that will be a great asset to our school system, bringing back in the fall the cross country, in the winter wrestling, and then in the spring outdoor track. So I think our athletics, with the help of a lot of other people, is trending in a very positive direction.
I think it's, thank you, Matt, and, it wouldn't be trending in that direction without Matt. His continued just constant, probably sometimes too much communication back and forth with me. We spend a lot of time together, keeping each other on the same page, making good decisions. I think you spoke a little bit about the amount of people that help out with our youth sport,
And, yeah,
high
those are only a
school and
few-
middle
few
school
to
sports. Those were a few people. We have a ton of teachers who are dedicated to not leaving at 2:30 or 2:45 every day, but taking a 10-minute break, having something quick to eat, and then getting out on a field, whether they're coaching or whether they're doing field administration work for us, making sure people are following the rules as we work very hard to keep the new Miller Field, as well as our middle high school and our other buildings intact, and our students safe in those buildings, but also the students and their respect for the fields and their respect for our school. You talked about other places coming out here. The feedback we get never is left without some type of a comment about how clean our facilities are, and how clean the middle high school is, and how amazing the field looks. And that's a testament to the people that are working it, but also our kids who have taken a lot of Viking pride in what they have. And that's just following example of our staff and our coaches and all the people that work around our athletics and extracurricular activities. So proud to be a Viking when you walk out on those fields, for sure. So thanks, Matt. I don't know if folks have questions for Matt.
Questions for that?
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much for that presentation.
No
It's
problem.
really interesting to hear how well the sports are doing. What are you finding your biggest challenges are?
In all honesty, I wouldn't really say that I have many challenges. I mean, Lisa, Susan, everyone, the coaches, everyone is great. And if we do have a challenge, I mean, we solve them pretty quickly. So I think we have a pretty good support system that we're not really running into too many challenges.
How are you doing in finding coaches?
Coaches can be a little challenging. Obviously, the location of Winthrop isn't ideal for someone looking from outside, and depending on the job that you have, it's difficult to get here for some games. But we're very fortunate in the sense that I would be willing to say probably 60% of our coaches are teachers in this system. So we've been very fortunate in that sense.
Excellent.
And I think the system that both Matt Crombie and Matt Serino put in place for coaches regarding posting the positions early enough, having interviews with them, but also the evaluation tool that they use, the feedback that they give to the coaches, keeps the coaches aware of where they're headed or where they may not be headed, and allows them to understand, where they're going to be the next season. So the retainment of our coaching staff is pretty good, but a big piece of that is the communication between the athletic director and high school principal with each and every one of the coaches, not just when they hire them, but throughout the season, then at the end of the season with an exit conversation about how the season went and what things we want to work on for next year. So all of that constant and continuous feedback and talking and suggestions leads to improvement. And so that's when we say, it's not overly challenged. We don't have any big issues. It's because we don't let them get big. We're working to keep that communication solid so that no small issue becomes a big issue. We want all of our kids to play sports. Matt's budget savviness is very helpful. He stays right on top of the user fees. We work out any issues with our families confidentially, and through the support of programs like Viking Pride and other scholarships that we have for our student athletes if needed. All of that is done very confidentially, so students feel like they can approach us or they can approach the athletic director if they really want to play that third sport, but not sure if their family can do that this year. Those conversations happen and they stay within the confines of that office. So I think our students feel comfortable with the coaching staff as well as the principal and the athletic director. So it's not always smooth sailing, but we take care of that fairly quickly and often.
Just one quick question. How's it going this year with the assistant?
Best assistant I've ever
Yeah.
had.
It's working
He's
out
looking
good?
for a pay raise.
The assistant athletic
I will
director.
say,
is
Double
not-
it. Why'd you double his pay?
He would be
Yeah.
heartbroken if I didn't. And of course, Frankie
He'll be
Fabiano.
He'll be watching.
Without him, our athletic department would not run as smoothly as it does. So
I think you
a
should
big
double
thank
his
you to
pay.
Frankie.
Double his pay from zero.
So that's the one
Yes.
challenge is
Zero.
paying my
0 to
assistant.
0. We could double the pay from
Yeah.
0 to 0.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that certainly I couldn't still be sitting in this seat without your assistant athletic director,
Frankie's
AKA
a
the
huge,
assistant
huge asset
superintendent.
for us.
He's
I thought
he
you were
keeps
his
us on
assistant.
a
Is he out in the rain right
Depends
now?
on the day, actually.
Is he out in the
He
rain?
He's
was.
probably
He
out in the
just
rain.
came in now. So.
He was out there.
Of course he was.
All right, thank you very
Alright,
much.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks,
Good
Matt.
job. Yeah, go right
Have a
ahead.
nice night.
You too.
Moving on, we have the minutes of the April 8th, 2019 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? I made the motion, second by Ms. Swope. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. We do have a few financial and business procedures this evening. We have warrant SVW 19-17 in the amount of $105,666.48. Do I have a motion to approve the warrant? Motion by Mr. Parent, second by Mr. Matucci. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it, the motion is adopted. We also have payroll warrant SPW 1917 in the amount of $695,261.52. Motion to approve.
Approve.
Motion by Ms. Swope, second by
Second.
Ms. Powell. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, two abstentions, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. And we have a budget transfer in the amount of $43,281.38. Do I have a motion to approve the budget transfer? Motion by Mr. Matucci,
Second.
second by Ms. Powell. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Zero opposed, no abstentions. The ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Buildings and grounds, we do have a car wash request for May 25th, 2019 for the senior class. All of the proper paperwork is in your packet. So I have a motion to approve the buildings and grounds request.
Approve.
Motion by Ms. Swope, second by Mr. Fabiano. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Subcommittee reports, Mr. Fabiano?
Today, before this meeting at 5:45, we just had a quick athletic subcommittee. We just had Mr. Serino give us an updated fee structure. He had given it to us prior to the last meeting. We had some discussions with that. We wanted to adjust it, so he did give us an updated one. I didn't get the other communities, their fee schedules or structures, so we're gonna hold off discussing this until we get that. We'll try to get it to the school committee members so everybody can look at that and put it together with the new fee structure, and we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Howard, any personnel?
At this time, we have no appointments, resignations, retirements, or postings, and we do not have any leave of absences requested at this time.
Any new business? None. We do have unfinished business. At the Buildings and Grounds Committee, we heard a memorial bench request from the Fioretti family. I believe they had all the, yep, Mr. Fabiano?
I was just gonna tell you, so the discussion we had was we wanted to send it back to the town and see if the town committee wanted to approve this. I talked to Rose is in charge of
Mr.
it.
Kelly, yeah.
Right. And she said, no, it's something that, for us to approve, so it's on our table.
Okay.
As far as she's concerned.
Well, I think they had all the proper paperwork, so and I think it's something that's necessary.
And we approved it at our Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee on February 8th. We had taken a vote, and how did we word it? We approved the bench as long as we checked with the town Memorial Committee, and that we did. So as far as our committee is concerned, we approved it 3-0.
Do we need to go for the full committee?
Yeah, so we need to bring the full committee to make it official.
Would you like to make a motion?
Just point, we also, Jimmy was kind enough to send around the policy that underlies this
Absolutely.
decision. And so I'm comfortable, and I'm sure everybody else was too, with what we did in light of the policy about
Absolutely.
deciding on.
So the motion that was in the subcommittee, and I'll make the same motion now, is to approve the bench for Rita and Frank Fioretti in Miller Field for it to be positioned next to where the Michael Mason bench is right now, which is, if anyone's not familiar, it's closest to the street, right on the bend. There's a great grass area right there.
Motion by Mr. Fabiano, second by Mr. Matucci. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a question.
Yep.
I love the idea of doing this. I think this is a very deserving family and deserving situation. But my question is, and I haven't seen that policy, but what concerns and how are you going to address future requests for similar memorials so that it's done, so we're not having like a garden of benches in that area?
Just follow the policy.
Yeah. Follow the policy and the criteria and
My opinion on
meets
it
the criteria.
is there's a certain amount of space there, and if we keep them tight and as they come along, and if they meet the criteria, that we continue until we have space, and then if there's no space left, then obviously
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to. We could become creative and find other spaces within Miller Field. I find these benches around town to be fantastic everywhere I go, whether it's Dare Island or down Belle Isle Marsh. Every time I run into one, it's just, to me, it's a fantastic idea. I'd really like this. I've noticed over by the baseball field, there's some great spots for it too.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunity, I think, throughout the community.
Policy's pretty explicit in what they do to meet the criteria to get something.
Okay, great.
So we have
Thank
a
you.
motion by Mr. Fabiano, second by Mr. Matucci. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Hames, you please call the roll.
Mr. Fabiano?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Mr. Parent?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes. That's 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion is adopted. Any public relations, Mr. Matucci?
Good.
Mr. Fabiano?
Yep, once again, May 5th, Winark has their yearly fundraiser down at Dare Island, 10 o'clock. Come on down, help support us, we appreciate it.
Mr. Parent?
Nothing for me.
Just one quick one. The Winthrop Scholarship Committee would like to remind the Winthrop community that there is still time to make contributions to the Rona Mail Scholarship for the class of 2019. The scholarship season by sending checks to the Winthrop Tax Collector's Office at Town Hall. Please make checks payable to the town of Winthrop, indicating the Rona Mail Town Scholarship on the memo line.
This Saturday at 11 o'clock, our families and our students are invited for a bike kickoff. There'll be safety presentations and a bike ride that I will actually be helping to lead. That's at 11 o'clock at Ingleside.
Can I just add, Mr. Capabianco, on the 28th, the annual Viking Color Run at Dare Island begins at 10 o'clock, so that was something else that the class has to have mentioned.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Matucci, second by Mr. Fabiano. All signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
I have,